joined by the third member of the Australian jumping team to going toward Tokyo Olympics, which is only 20 days away. And that, of course, is Katie Laurie. Good evening, Katie, over there in Holland. How are you?
Hi, good, thank you.
Edwina alluded to the fact you've had a bit of inclement weather. It's been a bit horrible, has it? Wind and rain and so on?
Yeah, today it's not the nicest, but that's okay.
Has that affected what you can do with the horse and so on, your training and preparation?
Yeah, like it's an amazing place to be here, basing here before the Olympics. There's everything you could possibly need, and Edwina and everyone here have been so helpful. So yeah, there is probably no better place to be to lead up to the Olympics.
It's not a negative, it's just a bit of a backstory. I remember when you rode your first Olympics, now you're coming up to your second, but your first Olympics, 2008 in Beijing. And the bit that really stuck with me was on your return, there was a negative press in all of, in the equivalent of the big tabloids, not just equestrian press, giving you a hard time for the results out of Beijing. And it occurred to me at the time, as a young person that you were riding, how damaging that could be to someone's confidence going forward. So guess how delighted I am to be talking to you as an Olympian, having gone through the journey of that sort of, I'll just call it negative press by people who probably should have known better. And then you've picked yourself up, you've become a New Zealand champion in terms of your performances. You've moved to Australia. You've had a number of World Cups victories and Grand Prix victories. You then go to Canada. And I can see why you've moved to Canada, because if I just go through the results of recent time, it appears to me that the capacity for you to jump a 2, 3, 4-star nearly every weekend appears to be there, if not in Canada, then like at Traverse City in Massachusetts or California and so forth. So good on you for proving the doubt is wrong. But just going back to Beijing and that press, was that a source of inspiration to actually say, well, I'm going to prove you buggers wrong?
Yeah, going back to Beijing, it was a really hard time. I didn't have much support by the team. I was young. I was on an older horse. It was tough. A lot of the reason why then, like I learned a lot from it. And then when I did my next championship on Delphi, I think the experience that I had made me stronger. And like I'd been to a championship, I'd had a tough time. So yeah, it was really tough. It's a big reason that I changed my nationality to Australia. I didn't feel the most support from New Zealand. Well, the people in New Zealand are huge support, but I didn't get much support from the federation. So Dad rode for Australia, and I just felt that it was natural for me to change and ride for Australia, and loved every minute of it so far. I love the show jumping scene there. It's a great place to bring up horses and like even base out of there and then directly come into America or Europe. So yeah, I'm happy with the decision I made in the end. And
yes. Well, and me too. I've got some wonderful friends in New Zealand. I'm certainly not having a go at the New Zealand people or the equestrian fraternity as such, but I just felt the press was just way out of line. And it gives me great pleasure to see you sitting there before me going to the Tokyo Olympics. And indeed, yes, I mean, Jeff, your father, I remember famously riding the horse Claret to win the King George V Gold Cup at the Empire Pool Wembley all those years ago. And mother also was a show jumper, wasn't she, of some repute? But Dad, did Dad did 3 Olympic Games?
Yeah, he did. He was in the top 10 in Europe and leading rider at Aachen. So yeah, he had a very successful career as well.
Yeah, indeed. And so really, jumping and horses are very much in your blood. But just touching on, before we talk about the horse that everyone loves, by the way, Casebrook Le Monde, I don't know anybody who doesn't want that horse in their stable. But the Canadian experience then, and my point about going to these shows, is that working out for you with that, amount of shows that you can now get to?
Yeah, unfortunately, the COVID year has been hard. Normally, we would have been able to stay a bit closer to home and jump at Spruce Meadows and Thunderbird a bit more often, but I had the opportunity that I could just get in my truck and drive and go and get to shows, which is unbelievable. It's not so hard to drive across the country to get to some of the best shows in the world. So that has opened up a lot of doors for competition for me, and the horses, they've been great. So yeah, it was a positive move.
Well, they have been great. If you look at recent form, I mean, you've jumped for some large prize money, and you seem to be winning a fair bit, so that's good for the coffers. But and I suppose from a selection point of view, a lot of those 5-star shows, here's Katie and the stallion doing, great things amongst your other horses too, I might add. So the prize money is there. Would you therefore suggest to young riders that perhaps there is an alternative to Europe, that North America could even be on their radar too?
Yeah, like for me in North America, it's not so hard to get into the shows for a start. It is quite expensive to show, but you are jumping for a lot of money. And you can, every weekend, there's something on. So yeah, it is a really great alternative to Europe and it's a good lifestyle, nice people there as well.
Yeah, right. And as I say, I'm wondering, in fact, Edwina just put something in my mind earlier, how a lot of people gravitate towards her stables. Is that something potentially you could do for Australians considering going to North America as such?
Yeah, like I guess we're in Canada, so we're a little further away from the right side. But yeah, it's definitely something we'd be interested in and helping out. When I got here to Edwina's, I thought, I can't believe I haven't been to Europe for so long.
Yeah, right.
Right. But yeah, we would definitely be interested in that.
Yeah, I just think, it's just another adjunct to Australians and their quest to become the next Edwina, the next Katie Laurie. Sheena Ross bought this beautiful horse, Casebrook Lamond, now a 13-year-old grey stallion. So he's by Lancic out of a mare by Kalido. But I believe Sheena bought the horse actually as a 2-year-old, and that you perhaps jumped on the animal at 3 years old. So you've been in and around this great horse for some time, haven't you?
Yeah, so she bought him as a 2-year-old, mainly off his breeding. She loves the pedigree, and then we're very good friends. So she asked me to sit on him as a 3-year-old when he was just broken in. And ever since then, she actually kept him at her place, I think, up until his 6-year-old year, and I just rode him. And then ever since then, he moved in and lived with us.
That's right, as he would want to. He looks to give you a massive feel over a fence. He's enormously scopy. He's very much, I believe, in that style of Olympic horse. Do you think I'm right in that observation?
Yeah, like he loves the job. He eyes up the fence. He knows what he's doing. He's brave. He's scopy. He's got a lot of miles now under his belt. Like, he feels experienced enough. I'm excited to step in the ring on him the first day there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Just talking to Edwina as well, I mentioned the course builder, and she said these could be quite tough. Have you jumped Santiago's courses at all? No.
No, so yeah, it'll be interesting.
Yeah, I think it will be. I think day one will be particularly interesting to see what he builds that day. And with Tokyo Games being up to potentially 70-odd% humidity and 45-degree feels like temperature, that's jolly hot. Has that factored into your thinking and training for the stallion in his preparation for the games?
Yeah, well, we were actually quite lucky. Well, it helped out at Traverse City. It got pretty hot. So he's been a little bit used to it and jumped in hot temperatures even in Australia. So I think fine, and we take all the measures to make sure that they're healthy and comfortable and everything that they need. So yeah, I think if you manage it well, they can cope with the humidity fine. Yeah.
No, different strokes for different folks, but certainly, yeah, I get what you're saying. And people like Kermo, he was telling me how the horse has been on the treadmill and so forth. Has that come into your repertoire? Do you go down that gym area for horses, if you like?
Yeah, so we've been making sure he's been getting a lot more fitness work lately. Obviously, he's been jumping for the last 2 to 3 months anyway, showing. So he is genuinely pretty fit. But yeah, he doesn't go on a treadmill, but I he's getting plenty of work and he gets out a lot. So, yeah.
I was going to ask you at the question, but time got away. When it comes to rider fitness, do you put store by that? Are you a person that's fastidious with diet and physical activity, or does the horses keep you fit, or is it something that you build into your repertoire?
So for me, when I'm in Calgary normally, I'm riding between, I think, 10 to 14 horses a day. So that keeps me, I think, plenty fit enough. I am a big fan of running, and since I've been here also, because I've only got the one horse and it's a fair bit of time, I've started running again.
Okay.
Just not to lose too much fitness, I guess, and it's good for something to do.
Yeah, but I recall there was a time when famously, John and Michael Whittaker would win a Grand Prix and end up being in the bar. Now I think most riders are winning Grand Prix and going back to hotels and being in the gyms. It's become a lot more serious, the whole thing, hasn't it?
Yeah, well, it's just there's so much involved now, so much like the money that's up and everything. It's a very serious sport, so you have to take it very seriously as well.
Here to that. But let's not forget also, just jumping back to a couple of the results, you actually came 6th in the World Cup final at Leipzig 2011. I mean, that's a fairly great performance to sort of bring confidence-wise. Okay, it was a while ago now, but that, with your Australian experience, with your Canadian experience, I guess you'd be thinking things are on the right track going into Tokyo.
Yeah, that was an unbelievable horse I had in Leipzig, Delphi, and an unbelievable experience. She jumped great. We were so close to Nelly being a little bit higher, but yes. it was great. But going back to Sparky, he now has jumped a couple of pretty decent Grand Prix, and he's gone. When we went to Traverse City, I think we'd had a month with no shows, and we went straight in the 4-star, and he jumped around clear. He was great. So he's the kind of horse that can also go off a little bit of a break from shows and go directly in, and he's got a lot of blood, and when he's feeling like that and fresh and good, he normally jumps his best.
Okay, well, so just to round off the interview, if we cast our mind forward to 20 odd days, well, no, not 20 odd days, 20 days actually before the start of competition, would it be fair to ask you what you would consider to be a good result out of these games? Have you got your own target, your own agenda for that?
Yeah, well, obviously the best result possible. I really want to make the individual final and jump clear the first day.
Yes.
And then I know the individual final is going to be tough. But then the next thing to think about is bringing it home for the team, hopefully, and us doing enough to qualify for Paris. That would be the main aim. But yeah, it's going to be tough, but take the first day as it comes and go out and do our best then, and then start to think about the team.
Great work. Well, I see this as being New Zealand's loss is Australia's gain. But it's a fascinating story, though. You've been in and around this horse all this time. He's 13 years old. You've known pretty much him since he was 3, ridden him since he was 3. He's a stunning horse. I think he's a crowd favourite. And for myself and everyone that we can, come around from the equestrian community, the very best of luck. Go well, go hard, and we look forward to catching up again on your return after Tokyo.
Thank you so much. We'll give it our best shot.
I'm sure you will. Thank you for your time today.
All right, thank you.